Hi, everybody. Welcome to Sow and Tare live chat every Monday, 6 p.m. Thank you for coming, and it looks like you guys have been talking already. A reminder that, and if you comment, please keep it family friendly, and also if we're talking about something and you want to talk about something else, go ahead and just put in the comment what you want to talk about. If you have questions, if you want to have a comment about something, go ahead and put in the comment. It's all welcome. And welcome to tonight. Let's see how early you guys were here. Oh my gosh, you guys have been talking for a while. Steve, S.S. Swanson's number one. Yes, you are. Steve says, greetings to all my quail friends, even my quail-less quail friends. Aaron says, I guess I'm number 2 tonight. I do have exciting news to share. Ooh, hopefully it's good. Andy Rabbit says, I came to watch at 6 p.m. my time. I said 2 more hours. I did say Pacific time. Yes, 6 p.m. Pacific time. Yeah, Aaron's laughing. Dawn, hi, Dawn. Says, hi, everyone. Oh, Aaron has exciting news to share. When is this news happening? All right, everybody's saying hi. And Dawn came to leave and come back. Okay, hopefully you're back now. Is it about Montana? Steve, probably not. 2 likes short. Steve says, I don't want to sound like I'm accusing or anything, but we're 2 likes short. I don't know what time it was when you did that, but it wasn't even when it started. Maybe they like things now. So we're going to go through and get into this and see when the question starts. Everybody saying hi. Verna is here. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Verna. Verna is my moderator. You'll see her in blue. She is awesome. And she has some little cavy right now, some guinea pigs, cavy, that are weaning, which I want to hear about. I know I didn't make it to your live this Sunday or this Saturday, so I'm going to try and make it this next Saturday. All right. I hope they're doing well. Everybody saying hi. 2 more days until lockdown. Yay! Hopefully you're doing well. So those that don't know, lockdown is when you are incubating birds. In this case, she's incubating quail, and you boost up the humidity, and that is what makes the eggs hatch. So it softens the eggs so that the little chicks inside can peck through and get out. So that's what lockdown is. That's what we're talking about. Awesome. And Dawn made the impossible pie today. As soon as I get up from here, going to cut it and freeze pieces. That sounds wonderful. Sounds wonderful. Andy Rabbit is also close to lockdown. Awesome. Are you guys doing a Christmas? I know some people are doing a Christmas hatch. I'm not. I have babies and I have I have enough going on right now. But I know some people are doing a Christmas hatch. Christmas is sneaking up on me, by the way. Meat pies for dinner. All right. So Steve's saying, Dawn, that freezer couldn't keep me out of sweets. It could delay me 30 seconds of microwave time. Steve, I used to live with my grandma for 5 years. I think it was 5 years. When I came out to California to do my master's, I lived with her when I was in school, and then I lived with her a couple of years after. And she was such a sweets person. And I know where I got that from because I am a sweets person too. And it's so funny because she would go to the freezer and get something, come back, and it would call her name, and she would go again and get another one. And yeah, I'm very much like that too. All right. Dawn says it does help me, slows me down, but right now it's right in my face when I open the fridge. Yeah, Yeah, sweets does that, and yummy things do that too. Sounds like meat pies need Chris's way butchering. I don't know what that means. Hopefully it's good. Hey, Ed. Ed Got Baits here. Good evening, everyone. Just packed and vacuum sealed some freeze-dried kale and spinach for my mom to go in smoothie. Very good. Very good. Did you powder it? You like run it through a blender? Because I don't know. It would take up less space if you did that. So I'm assuming you did it. Oh, Andy doesn't like coconut anything. Anything else you could use instead of coconut? I don't know. Hopefully she gives you an answer. Verna says, all my eggs are old, so I have to check them before using them. Yeah, they're I've had eggs out for a long time and they're just fine. I think when you have the micro cracks, that's when they don't last a long time. I have a basket sitting on my kitchen floor, which is good because there's a linoleum under it in case something happens, of unwashed eggs. And that was from the beginning of November. So I was going to wait a month and a half. So I guess I'm here. I was going to wait 6 weeks and see how many of them, grab 5 or 6 and see how good they were. I don't know. I think they last longer than what people think they last, as long as they're not cracked. Because you do get those micro cracks, and you can see that with a candler, an egg candler. So I don't know. Yeah, you check everyone, and if they're good, eat it. If they don't good. If they're not good, don't eat it. Yeah. Oh, Dawn was looking at like taco meat or something like that. My quail meat, I slowly go through. Oh, okay. You're savoring your quail meat. That's what you're saying. I was thinking that you ground your quail meat, and I was going to ask you how that went, because after grinding the beef that I did, you guys saw the video the other day. It would be a lot of work to cut the uncooked meat off of a quail. So I was going to ask how you did that, but you didn't do it. Everybody saying hi to Ed. All right, it jumped. I may have missed something. That's jumped. Where'd you guys go? Oh, okay. Steve says, saw my 6-year-old granddaughter yesterday. She says, Pop, it sure has been a long time since I had any quail. Uh-oh, she needs some quail. Do some of the freezer. The eggs. Yeah. Eggs or quail? I think you're talking about eggs. Give that girl some quail. Yes, give quail. Hi, Verna. I know. I already said hi, but hi again. Annie says, when my granddaughter ate her first quail, she looks at me and says, you can make some good soup out of them. Yeah, I bet you could. I haven't done soup out of quail. I have done bone broth and used it to make soup, but I haven't actually done like a broth when it was like with the meat in it. So if you do that, put it on quail in the kitchen and we'll actually do it. Show us how you did it. All right. S.S. Swanson says, Aaron, time to spill it. Speaking of spilling, how did canning go? Okay. So Aaron was given an assignment several weeks ago now. And that is your news. Okay. The assignment was to pressure can water because nothing's wasted. Nothing's going to go bad. It's easy to do. And it's just a good practice. So here's his answer. That's my news. We pressure canned fresh pumpkin. That's not water. Well, Christina pressure canned pumpkin. We are finally ahead of quail egg sales that we are peeling eggs right now to pickle. Very cool. Very cool. So hopefully that went well. I've not actually done pumpkin because pumpkin lasts so long that, I mean, I've had pumpkin last more than a year. But yeah, if you have a bunch of it, go for it. I usually make pumpkin glop. I have a video on that, pumpkin glop, GLOP, because that's the sound it makes when it falls into the bowl. I do that for pumpkin pies, and it makes it really easy. So I know with canned pumpkin, you're supposed to let it drain because it retains a lot of moisture. Whereas what I do is I make the pumpkin puree. It's a cooked pumpkin puree is what it is. And I put it in Ziplocs in the freezer. So you're not supposed to can pumpkin puree. When you can pumpkin, it's in chunks. And the reason for that is because there can be a density issue with that, so where the heat doesn't go all the way to the middle. So hopefully you did it in chunks. And I'm curious. I know you said you'd wait. I think that was PJ. Never mind. I would like to know what you think of your canned pumpkin so that I know whether or not I should be doing it. Yeah. Oh, Andy says, I did a Christmas dinner hatch back in October. Does that count? We can have Christmas in July. We can have Christmas in October. That's okay. That counts. Jesse. Hey, Jesse. Good evening, everyone. Andy Rabbit says, I'm about to butcher the Christmas dinner hatch later this week or early next week. So really your Christmas hatch is your Christmas dinner hatch. Maybe that just adding that one word will help it. Yeah. Vern doesn't know anything else that can replace coconut. Yeah, coconut's kind of I think you would just omit it. I don't know. We're talking about Impossible Pie. You probably just would omit it. Versus Katrina, all my eggs are refrigerated and over a month old. Yeah. So my small egg producer and handler certificate, that whole booklet, it says 30 days refrigerated. Now you wash them and then refrigerate them for that. And you don't have to wash before you refrigerate them. You can wash them later, but really what you do for the handlers, I mean, you can. If you're selling them, you're supposed to wash them and refrigerate them. There you go. Yeah, they're probably good. Dawn says, yes, the pie is very adaptable. Coconut not needed. She tells in the video I sent about one with meat, onion, and tomato and cheese. Interesting. I would not think that coconut would replace all those. All right. Joy. Hi, Joy. Did you get a lot of snow? I think you're a few hours away from my parents in Oregon, and they got 9 inches. So hopefully you are all good on the snow and not snowed in, or if you want to be snowed in, maybe snowed in. Ed says, wait on a coffee grinder to show up from Amazon to powder it. Wife won't let me use her $500 blender. She won't let you use that for kale? Man, kale's not going to hurt a blender. I mean, don't sue me if it does, but I don't think that'll happen. Good luck with that. Jesse, Esso, hope the pic doesn't scare you too bad. Okay, I don't know what you guys are sending back and forth at each other. Ed says, you have got a ton of rain lately there in California. Absolutely. And that was going to be my topic. You know how I always have some topic partway in. So the topic that I was going to talk about today is rain, because this morning I checked my rain gauge. As you guys know, I have a Kokoros rain gauge. I'm going to type that in here so you guys know what I'm saying. So Kokoros is a community collaborative rain, hail, and snow network. And if you guys want to be a weather reporter, a precipitation reporter, then I suggest you go to their website. It's Kokoros, I think it's .com.org. If you just type in Kokoros, which is what I typed in the chat, then you'll get there and you can become a reporter. And basically you report the rain every day and you report no rain, because no rain is just as important as rain. Now, sometimes I report no rain well after it has not rained. It is a volunteer reporting, and all you buy is the rain gauge. So other than that, you don't have any cost. You don't get paid. It's a volunteer thing, but you buy a rain gauge, and you guys have seen it. If you guys saw the video today, you saw the rain gauge. It has a center part that comes out, and that holds 1 inch of water. The whole thing is 4 inches with a funnel. And then the outer part plus the inside, that will hold 11 inches of water. So I hope it never fills up to 11 inches of water, but I know in some areas of the world that does happen. It is a national and international thing. It started, I don't remember where. It started because it started in the U.S., somewhere in the Western U.S., I believe. And it started because there's a small town that didn't get any warning, and it basically got flooded out. So nobody, the weather people weren't predicting things correctly. And so basically this town got flooded out and didn't have any warning about it. And that became a big topic of discussion. So this organization actually started from a very small town event and then has ballooned to include not only all of the United States, but past the United States. And it is really amazing to be a part of and know that your data goes somewhere. So what you do is you check it. It's a 24-hour check, and you check it. You tell them what time you checked it. If you're gone for a couple days, you can have your neighbor babysit, or you can have a multiple day. So if you're gone for multiple days, you can report that when you get back and say it rained this much sometime between this date and this date. And what that does is it helps the weather people, the meteorologists, as they're really called, not weather people. It helps the meteorologists figure out how to interpret their data. So I'm sure all of you guys have looked up weather on your phone or on the computer and say, oh, this one says it's supposed to be this, and this one says it's supposed to be this. They're all basically looking at the same data. They're looking at a national data set, unless it says otherwise. And it's just all in the way you interpret it. So that is part of what this organization is trying to do, is help interpret. You can also, as I did yesterday, report significant weather. So it hailed yesterday. We had pea-size hail. And so I was able to report that real time, put it in, say we had 3 minutes of hail. It was this big. This is the description of the hail. And what that does is it helps fine-tune how people are reading those. And if enough people in the area say, hey, there's something major going on, they can put out an alert. So it's a really helpful thing. And I hope you guys sign up. And like I said, it's free to sign up. And it's just, it might be a fun thing to do, especially if you have kids. They go out and check it every day. It might be a little boring in the summer if you're in California. But that is how, who said that? Did Ed say that? Yeah, Ed said that. So that is how I know that for this weekend, the 2 days that I checked, we had 2.98 inches fall in a 24-hour period. And the next day we had 0.93 inches fall in a 24-hour time period. So in a weekend, we had almost 4 inches, which is amazing. And the plants are happy. And I am glad I didn't plant more seeds than I did, because I did plant the last time this happened. I might sneeze. Excuse me. The last time this happened, when it rained a lot, I had just planted a bunch of peas. No peas came up. They all just rotted in the ground just because we had so much moisture. So I'm glad I didn't plant out. I was going to plant out more things. I did plant flowers, and hopefully they had enough time to get a hold before. Anyway, yes, Ed, if I had a gold star, I would give it to you. That was my topic. Okay, let's see where I am, how much I may have missed. You guys are talkative tonight. Let's see. Dawn's asking Ed, can you use your blender to make smoothies? So yeah, Ed, that's a good point. Is this a his and hers, or is this what is going in it? Does she just hate kale? Doesn't want that kale taste to blend in there? That's funny. Dawn says, LOL, the first thing I did when I got the canner was water, just to test it out. I was scared of the thing. And that's exactly why I tell people to do water. It's because you're not going to mess up. And all it's going to do is result in you having sterile water, which is handy to have if there's an injury and you like, oh, I can just pop this open and clean it and not have to boil water to get sterile water. So that, I mean, I wouldn't stock up on it, but you can keep it around until you need, or maybe you need that jar and you use the water to make something or drink it or whatever. So, yeah, rabbit and quail bone broth, finished it Friday. It's so darn good. It smells delicious. I just had to make some chicken noodle soup out of it. Awesome. Yeah, I've done both of those broths, and I don't think I did one together. I think I've done quail and chicken together, but I haven't done rabbit and quail together. But I am sure it is delicious and nutritious and awesome. So good job. Was that your first time doing that, or is this something that you've perfected? I know a lot of people, when they make bone broth, they add all sorts of vegetables and onion and all sorts of stuff together with it. But it is it's good. I don't need to have all that stuff in it because I don't know what I'm using it for, I guess. Like, I don't add salt and stuff like that, but some people do, and they know what they're going to use it for, and that's fine. I just do it plain with some apple cider vinegar, which takes out the minerals out of the bone into the broth. So that's the only thing I add besides water. There you go. People do it all sorts of different ways, and depending on what you're using it for, it's great. If you do add vegetables in it, I know when I've made vegetable broth, people take the vegetables out. If you take an immersion blender into that, just blend it right in instead of taking it out. It's really good. I made a soup like that. It was a broth basically, but then I canned it as a soup because it was a little longer with vegetables in there. Really good. There's a recipe on YouTube for impossible pumpkin pie. Oh, that sounds good. You guys just skipped. Let's see. Verna says, I take quail bone broth, throw in a few breasts, then debone the cooked breasts and throw on rice or noodles. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, somehow I missed that comment before. I'm sorry. Verna says, FDA doesn't recommend you can pumpkin for pies. Chunks, yes, but not just pulp. Yeah, it's the puree that is the issue. So you can can chunks and then later use it for a pie. And that's what I was saying is you basically drip it, you put it in like a flour set towel or a cheesecloth and let it drip and drain, and then you can use it. And then you can, mix it up and use it. But yeah, canning the actual glop, the actual puree is not a good thing because it does have a density issue. And that has been tested. So some of the stuff, if you guys want to look, the Center for Home National Center for Home Food Preservation is what to look up for all things canning related, and they have they have approved recipes, approved times, and all of that. But then the some things are not approved because they haven't tested them, and some things are not approved because they're dangerous. And the pumpkin puree, is one that they actually know why it shouldn't be done. So, yes, thank you, Verna. Aaron says it was some pumpkins from the beginning of the year. We did it in chunks. Yep, awesome. Yeah, so they had already been around for a while. Dawn says when you omit the coconut, it becomes custard pie. Well, that's okay with me. I like custard. Andy Rabbit says, yes, my Christmas dinner hatch is for Christmas dinner. I planned it that way. There you go. That works. Oh, Verna makes a crustless cheesecake. I have done crustless cheesecake, and I have done crustless pumpkin pie, mostly when, one, the people I'm making for don't want the crust, or two, my pumpkin pie recipe always makes more innards than the two pies it makes. So I always do an extra little thing in a Pyrex. Yeah. Verna says, I powdered my pepper jack cheese that I freeze dried, made pepper jack cheese biscuits to die for. I bet. That sounds wonderful. Wonderful. Aaron says, Steve, the quail barn is 97.5% done. Aaron, that wasn't your big news? I would think that was your big news. I'll get around to completing it sometime next year. The quail are safe from any predator, not named Lane. I am glad that you're getting that done. It's awesome. Hopefully no more attacks. Andy Rabbit says, my first pressure canning was pork. My next was beans, not in the same jars. Yeah. Yep. Beans are really easy. I filmed, I haven't posted that yet, right? The day I did my kitchen multitasking video, I did film making beans, and I haven't actually put it out in the world yet, but that's coming. Yeah. Joy says, we haven't had any snow lately. I live about 26 miles from Lincoln City towards Salem. I thought you were a little further west. I mean, a little further east. Well, good. Hopefully you got some moisture, not too much. Steve says, quail calendar is out with Mama and Daddy's. It's available at Whiskey Tango Farm. Jesse posed for it. Oh, the reference in the picture comment. Right. So Whiskey Tango Farm always has, I think this is the second annual calendar with it's just fun pictures with people with quail, and apparently Jesse is in it. Okay. Now I'm on the same page. Thank you, Steve. Everybody's saying hi. Oh, bless you. That must have been when I sneezed. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Andy Rabbit, the quiet of listening. I don't know what that means. Jennifer. Hey, Jennifer. Do you have any videos on how you can meat? Yes, I do. I have videos on how to can rabbit. I have videos on how to can quail. I have videos on, I will have a video on how to can beef and a hot pack and cold pack. Yes. So go ahead and look at in my, Verna's on top of it. Thank you, Verna. Yeah, in my, I have a category on my page that is a playlist, preserving food or food preservation, something like that. And all of the canning recipes are in there. And so, yeah, I do have that. If you're canning rabbit or quail or any other bird, that goes under the rabbit and chicken directions. If you're canning, beef is a separate thing, and I don't do fish, but fish is another separate thing. So make sure that you are following the category. So yeah, so I think you have quail. Is that right? Yeah. So follow, if you're doing quail, follow the chicken and rabbit directions on that website that I put up there, the National Center for Home Food Preservation. But you can also watch the video that I have. Yeah, cool. And thank you, Verna, for putting that. Andy Rabbit says, I did the quail and rabbit broth together. I make lots of bone broth. I just bay leaves and onion and celery. Yeah. If you do it a lot of it, do it how you like it, and you know what you're using it for. I tend to go simple with this because I like to do it in the pressure canner, and you can't really. I mean, you could, but I don't really add ingredients like at the end at that point, as I would do in a bone broth that I was making into, like, with vegetables. I wouldn't want to put like carrots in there for hours, you know. Yeah, and I do have a video on making broth, bone broth and canning bone broth as well. I don't remember what I used for that. I don't remember what kind of broth it was, but it's the same instructions. Sometimes carrots if you have some old ones. Yeah. So doing broth, if you're doing broth, a good thing to do is to have, if you like chop a top of a carrot, or if you have like, peelings, or, tops of onion or whatever, all those leavings, you can put that into a broth and it can still give good flavor and good nutrients. And then you just skim them off and toss them, or give them to your animals or whatever. And you can also blend it in and make it more of a soup base. And that's what I named it when I did that, is I call it a soup base, because you can either have it like that, a little runny, or you can have it, with things. So what I really like about canning is that you can add anything. So like I do have soups, and I need to make more chili, but I do have soups that are, I made them and they're just can of soup, pour it out into the pan, heat it up. There you go. And then I also have, just ingredients. Oh, wow, this soup was really thick. Oh, we added tortilla to this. It's really thick now. Oh, let me just add a jar of this other bone broth. Then that makes it better. It's like, oh, well, I want this one to have meat in it, and I didn't can it with meat, or it needs more meat. Okay, well, let's put a can of this kind of meat in there, or that kind of meat in there. And you can make those decisions at that point. You can do the same thing, like if you were to can your vegetables, your potatoes, stuff like that, then you can just make a very quick soup just by dumping it together and heating it up. Because anytime you can something, you can eat it out of the jar. You don't have to heat it up. I mean, soup is better heated, right? But you don't have to heat it up. You can just, it's already cooked. So it just needs to be warm enough for you to enjoy it. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, hey, Verna, you should post that video link at the end for us. I don't know what video link that is. Thank you. The one underneath Andy Rabbit's, Verna posted the National Center for Home Food Preservation website. Thank you very much. That's where you go for all the good information for canning and other preservation, but canning's good. All right. If you click the link, it will open another window and you can look at it afterwards. Yes. Yeah, you can open it and you can choose to open it in another window. Andy Rabbit says, about Christmas dinner hatch, I said I just pulled Christmas dinner out of the incubator today when they hatched out. That's pretty funny. That's really funny. It took you off the live. If you right click the link, if you click next to it, I think there's 3 dots, then it was a new page. That's how you do that. I think it's the little dots next to it, and then you open it in a new window or something like that. Oh, and Steve said exactly what I said. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can scroll through the chat as well. So what I'm going to try and do, and I haven't been keeping track today. Maybe I'll try and do it. What I'm going to try and do on these lives moving forward is I'm going to try and remember what videos I was directing you guys to. And, Verna has some stuff in the chat, but I also want to kind of put some in the description after the fact. That way, if you rewatch or, send it to someone to watch, then they can find that easily. I don't know how consistent I'm going to be on that or how thorough it will be, but I'm going to try and do that. It might just be like a bunch of links. I don't know. Okay. SOS, I'm on a phone. You don't have a right click. We'll get it to you. Yeah, Jennifer says, yes, I do have quail. Thank you both for the great information. You're welcome. Yeah, there is a video on quail canning. I think I also did rabbit with that too, because I did a cold pack for that. Verna says, Katrina, what will you do when you get 500 subscribers or 1,000 subscribers? I don't know. I should do something, huh? That'll be exciting. It's exciting whenever anybody joins. I don't know. Give me some suggestions. That would be a good thing. Oh, and it skipped. Let's see. I gotta find you guys again. Andy Rabbit says, I like the onion skins for color, celery, and bay leaves for flavor and bone broth. Yep. Onion skins have all the best benefits. Good to use. Steve, yeah, they do have good benefits. I'm fine with them in soups and stuff. I just don't like them raw or really cooked, but they're good. They're okay in stuff for me. Verna says I always throw in whole onions. Yeah, a lot of people slice them in half and just throw them in too. I don't know. Ed, I'm with you. I throw onions in the trash. I think I've said this on here before, but when I was little and we get onion rings, I would pull the onion out of the ring, throw the onion away, and eat the ring. It's just fried bread, right? Yeah. Dawn says, my gosh, I just searched impossible pie for dinner recipes. There are like 12 to 15 recipes. Link chili, bacon, quesadilla, cheeseburger, brunch, seafood, lasagna, taco, green bean, zucchini, tomato, brownie. Yeah. Maybe that's why it's called impossible. I haven't made that, but I've made a lot of pies. I used to make a lot more than I do now. Andy Rabbit says, I put all the scraps as I use them into the freezer till I make broth. I put scraps into the freezer and then they stay in the freezer until I forget them. And then I look in the freezer, I'm like, oh, I need to do that. I found a bunch of apple peels and cores in the freezer that I was saving for making apple cider. And they've been in there a very long time. So I think I'm going to maybe do that maybe after the holidays. So yeah, that was there you go. That's the what I do. What I do and what I don't do. Andy Rabbit says, oh, Dawn, we are going to have to talk about them later. Oh, boy. Vern says, Katrina, if you remind me, I will send you word pads of the ones used in your chat. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, Verna. That would be super helpful. Yeah. Cool. I'll message you after. Thank you. Steve says, Andy Rabbit, instead of tapping on a link on the web page, press and hold the link. So this is instructions for how to open a link on a phone in the chat, which I don't know, so I'm going to read this. Instead of tapping on a link in a web page, press and hold the link. This will display the shortcut menu. Select copy. From there, open a new window and paste there. That is so technical, Steve. I'll just stick with the computer. Dawn says these pies use eggs and I need to use up quail eggs. I understand. I mean, I plan on making eggnog. So maybe think about that too. Ed says, yes, Katrina, I only eat the outer case of onion ring. The onions look like tapeworms. They look like something you shouldn't eat. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Verna. Verna's awesome. Have I said that yet today? I think I have, but I'll say it again. Verna's awesome. Andy Rabbit says, I had to dig through the freezer to find the scrap bags, many bags, because I forget I already had a bag and already started every time. Yeah, I do that with bones. So I don't make bone broth like all the time. I make it when I have a bunch saved up. And so like we basically have a bunch of little quail carcasses and rabbit carcasses in the freezer. And here's another news. I got a refrigerator for my egg sales, which are not doing much right now. So people aren't getting back to me. But I did get a refrigerator to go into the garage because even though the state said you don't need it, they say, well, locally they might. I'm like, I'm in Santa Clara County. They probably do. Plus, I don't want all these eggs in my refrigerator. So I just got another one on a Black Friday. Well, it was before Black Friday. It was on sale before Black Friday, and it didn't get additional sale. But when I did that, what I did is I'm using the freezer of that refrigerator to hold things like all the animal parts for crafts and stuff. Get that out of my kitchen freezer, chest freezer, and go out into the garage. So when I did that, though, I found some extra bags of carcasses. So I will be maybe understanding where they are in the freezer now. And when I need it, I can get it. Yeah. Oh, Verna says for each large egg, so talking about each large chicken egg, use a 4th cup quail eggs. I don't know what that equals to, how many quail eggs that equals to for you. I know for my eggs, which really are my Shire Farm progeny, I actually measured it out by weight for chicken egg and quail egg. And for me, for the average eggs that I get, it is 3 egg yolks and 4 egg whites equals 1 chicken egg. I just do 4-to-1 ratio. I just say, okay, if there's one chicken egg, I'm using 4 eggs. But that number can vary based on the size of the egg you have. So yeah, you can go with that measurement. It's good. Good. Steve says I boiled 45 quail eggs for a snack, and these dang kids devoured them as fast as I peeled. 3 kids, I got 4 eggs for myself. Oh my gosh. My battery saver's on. That's fun. Apparently I forgot to plug in my computer. Hang on, guys. Don't go away. All right. There we go. We're plugged in. I plugged in the other side. Didn't plug in this side. Yes, Steve, do you have an egg peeler? I got an electric egg peeler, and it is very worth the money. Very worth. I know, Verna, you have a hand crank egg peeler. Do you still? I'm sure you still love it, but how much faster have you gotten at that as you've been using it? That's a good question to compare the two. Ed says, yes, Verna is awesome. I agree. Verna says, onion rings are the only cooked onions I eat. I'm in good company, not great onions. Okay, the 4th cup works perfectly. 4th cup of quail eggs. The first thing you did was mayonnaise with quail eggs. Today I did 1 cup into a pie. Awesome. Ed says wife will only eat onions if they are caramelized. Ugh, Manuel likes caramelized onions too. He gets like extra on things. I'm like, no, thank you. Verna likes raw onions. Love the flavor of cooked onions, but not the cooked onions themselves. So as a flavoring, yeah, I'm fine with it in salsa and sauces and stuff if it's in there. Yeah. Andy Rout says, "Oh, that's a good idea. I let kids peel the eggs themselves. It keeps them busy for a while." Well, Andy, you are a genius, and Steve needs to learn from you. Good idea. Aaron says, when I'm chopping onions, I like to snack on some. Are you one of those people that bites into like an apple? Yuck. Onion sandwiches. Ew. That does not sound good. Raw onions are great. Yellow, white, or purple. Not red, though. Red ones don't. I'm joking. Dawn says, I used 23 eggs in pie today from big to small ones. Awesome. Verna says, that is why it kept flashing. Oh, was it flashing on your side? I'm sorry. I thought I had plugged it in because I got all set up. You know what I didn't do as well? I plugged in a light and I didn't turn it on. Man, what's going on with me today, guys? I'll turn it on now. Now you can see what's going on. Oh boy. Oh, you haven't. Verna says she hasn't tried her egg peeler. Really. Essa Swanson says, I love my electric peeler. Andy says, yes, that's why she kept on flashing. I'm sorry, didn't mean to flash you guys. Jennifer says, I have electric egg peeler. It works amazing. Yes, it absolutely does. And as soon as you realize that you don't want it too cracked, it works even better. Like the first one I was like, okay, you're going to shake them, get them super cracked. And then it just took forever because it was taking this piece, then this piece, then this piece. What you want is for it to crack, and then it will hold the shell and pull it, and it will like unwind it. Yeah, it's awesome. Ed says, went to a restaurant and ordered gumbo. It was basically onion soup. Tried picking them out with my fork, but it started pissing me off, so I just used my paw, and 80% of the soup was onions. Yeah, no thank you. No thank you. Verna says, oh yes, Katrina, onions like apples, eating the same way. Runs in my family. Man, there are better things. If you haven't roasted garlic, maybe roast some garlic, because that's even better. And it doesn't taste like raw garlic. It tastes just, you could eat the whole thing. It's awesome. Andy says, my grandkids started peeling quail eggs at the age of 3 years old. I bet they're quick. Ed says, Halloween trick-or-treat for the kid, caramel-coated onions on a stick. Is this something you did, or is this just a joke you're making? Because that sounds disgusting. Oh, boy. Verna's going for coffee. Aaron says, I don't know if I can eat gumbo not in Louisiana. Oh, yeah. So the South is you're very particular on your gumbos, right? About which, is it a regional thing, or is it this is our thing and the rest of the United States sucks at it? I don't know. Aaron says, we have an electric egg peeler and we are sitting here peeling by hand. Why? Why are you peeling it by hand if you have an electric egg peeler? It's so much faster. Oh, yeah. So Ed, I think he was saying that if it's gumbo that's not in Louisiana, he lives in Louisiana. If it's gumbo that's not in Louisiana, he doesn't want it. Eat it. I think that's what he's saying. Wish I had trick-or-treaters now. Oh boy. Out of coffee. We need to get you some tea. Steve says, my first experience as a child eating out of the garden was an onion. It was good. Regular onion, not a green onion. Okay. hopefully it's hopefully it was good. Verna says garlic is well known for that. Onions as well. It's in the same family. It's in the allium family. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says the rest of the USA just try to make gumbo. Yeah, that's kind of what Aaron's comment I think was getting to. Makes sense on the gumbo. Yeah. Yeah. So he's gonna have to tell us how to do it right. All right, so I have news in the tomato conundrum. You guys have been following, know that tomatoes 2 years have been horrible here, as in they didn't produce fruit. And I attribute that to the temperatures going super hot and the blossoms, not turning into fruit. When tomatoes get past a certain temperature, they just don't produce fruit. So I had some emails back and forth, Territorial Seeds and Baker Creek, and they both emailed back and had some suggestions, but of a couple varieties that might work. Some of the varieties that Baker Creek suggested are varieties that I planted, so it might just be too hot. But Wild Boar Farms got back to me, and they actually want to have a phone call and kind of talk about what might be best for me. So I'm going to be talking with them at some point. So all three of those companies, all three of them I reached out to, those are the only ones I reached out to, and they all three reached back, they're just awesome. They're awesome. So I recommend going to those three places if you are interested in seeds. Let's see. Don says I only had gumbo in South Carolina once. Well, maybe it was only once because it wasn't Louisiana gumbo. I've never had real gumbo, I don't think. I think I've had it like in a cafeteria at a school, which I'm sure is not real gumbo. Ed says it was Maggie McFly's restaurant. First and last time I have eaten there. Yeah, I would think so. Yeah. Andy says I love gumbo, but don't live far enough south, so I can't make it good enough for me. Maybe you need to get the recipe from Aaron. Yeah, that might be a good thing. Yeah, Ed says good customer service right there. Yeah, all three places definitely. No, I don't think I've ordered from Wild Boar Seeds. I have, or Wild Boar Tomatoes. I have talked with them at the Heirloom Expo, like very briefly. But I know they're good at tomatoes, and I know they do a lot of hybrids, and I know they do a lot of tomatoes that like are on their way to becoming heirlooms. I don't know exactly what it requires to become an official heirloom, but I know that they have good stuff. So I like, well, I know I should read them and yeah, good stuff, good customer service, all of them. Andy Rabbit says I only live about 45 minutes to an hour away from Baker Creek Seeds. Yeah, they're good people. They put on the Heirloom Expo every year. Has happened for a couple of years. And it used to be in Santa Rosa, which is 3 hours away from me. And I used to be able to stay at my cousin's house, which was nice. And now it's going to be near LA. And so that's like 6 hours away from me. So I need to figure out where I would be staying when going down there. That's in September. I want to say the 12th to the 14th, but I don't know why I want to say that. I think it's a couple weeks after QuailCon. Yeah. Anyway, it's a good time. It's a lot of information, a lot of good speakers, a lot of good stuff. So I recommend if you are able to get out to the Heirloom Expo, or Baker Creek does things locally there. They do so many activities there that I've heard about but never been because it's way across the country for me. But I recommend going to those activities because they're really good people and they do really good things. Yeah. Anyway, Steve says, how can you not grow tomatoes? Because heat in California being the top producer. Yeah. So when tomatoes get up to a certain point in temperature, they do not set fruit. So the flowers will drop off or they will become sterile, and they actually don't set fruit. So we were having temperatures up to 115 degrees, which is really hot. If you already have a tomato started at that point, then they will continue to grow. But what happens is if it's still a flower, it will either fall off or become infertile. And yeah, so that is, we've had in the past, we've had like a week in the beginning of the summer and a week at the end of the summer that was really hot. Not 115 degrees hot, but really hot. And like 100 plus hot. And now we're having spikes. We're having a week here, a week here, a week here. So we're having like this continuous interruption. And so that's the why. And I know that Aaron talked about a variety that might do well. I just forgot the name of it. I had it in my head. Do well with heat, and there's a couple other varieties. Yeah, so I definitely will be sharing that information with you guys when I once I talk to this third company and figure things out. I will be talking with them. So yeah, and another point to that is I like growing heirloom varieties. So each variety is going to have a different heat tolerance. Just like different varieties have different tolerances for like blossom end rot and different diseases and stuff like that. They have different tolerances. But that is the reason why. And the ones that they grow in the valley, I don't know how they did, but they do grow mostly hybrids in the valley. And I'm going to guess that they are varieties that are grown for that area. So yeah, I mean, a lot of tomatoes come out of California for sure. California is on the national scale when it comes to farming and exporting. Our gross national product is not even on par with other states. It's on par with other countries. So they do grow those, but those are going to likely be hybrids, which is fine. But yeah, I'm looking for a good tasting, good tomato. Because like I have grown paste tomatoes. They're just paste tomatoes, they're not tasty. What I like to do is make all my sauces, my spaghetti sauce, my, salsas, all of that. I like to make it out of flavorful tomatoes. And yeah, you do have to cook it down longer or skim that off and, the juice or use it for something else. But it does take more time. But I feel like it's more flavorful when you have all of these good tomatoes in a sauce. So yeah, good question, Steve, because that is true. That I don't know if we're the top producer for tomatoes, but I know that we're very up there in all things all things agricultural. Maybe the Midwest has got us on the corn and soybeans, but other than that, California has a lot of growing. Yeah. Aaron says I'll bring containers of gumbo to QuailCon. All right, deal. Dawn says, "Oh, that would be great if you find a solution. I do buy from Baker Creek. I am growing a new one in hydroponics from them now called Purple Region. Nice. I don't know that one. Or Purple Rain. Sorry, Purple Rain. Hand pollinating it for the past 3 days. Awesome. Yeah, something I don't remember if it was Baker Creek or Territorial Seeds. One of them suggested that I start them really early, grow them early, and then start another batch to grow later. And I guess that's what places in the southern area of the United States does. I don't know. That's what they had referenced. So I can try all sorts of things. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says this was an overly hot summer this year. It was overly hot. But last summer was almost the same. So what I'm concerned about is that this is going to be not just this year or last year. It's going to be a continuation because weather is changing. So that's my concern. So I want to find a solution and maybe grow a few fun things, and maybe they'll do good. I mean, even I have a volunteer tomato in the front yard right next to the door. It's not a cherry tomato. I can tell that because of the flowers, and they're not in clusters. They're separate, and it it overwintered last winter, and it did not give tomatoes last year, and it did not give tomatoes this year. So I still don't know what kind it is or what it might have come from. But even one that I didn't plant did that. I did get cherry tomatoes that were volunteers, so I did get those, but no, big tomatoes. Yeah. Everybody's saying sounds good to the gumbo. Okay, Andy Rout says it takes 50 years to become an heirloom. Okay. Yeah, so they're on their way to doing that. And an heirloom is something that's grown consistently over a set amount of time, which apparently is 50 years, according to Andy Rabbit. And it's something that's generally passed down from generation to generation. And that's why it's heirloom. Jennifer says, when you find out the information about tomatoes, can you please let us know when you find out? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. Andy Rabbit says, I think anything over 90 degrees, tomatoes stop. Yeah, it's going to be different for different varieties, and I'm sure the hybrids probably have a higher tolerance. But yeah. Verna says tomatoes are like buck rabbits. If too hot, they become infertile. Yep. Yep. Tomato buck. Maybe I'll name my next buck marinara. Oh boy. This is following it. For those listening that might not know, my rabbits are named Italian names. Buck is Parmesan, and the does are tortellini and meatball. And Ziti was the third one that died from the heat, the 115 degree. Yeah, so they do. Aaron says, have you ever tried shade cloth over your tomatoes? It will still be hot, but the sun won't be directly to hit them. So where I planted them this year was where they did really well volunteered last 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, I had like a bumper crop. It was really, really good for tomatoes. And it was actually in the front of the house. And it's not where I would have planted a tomato, but it does have afternoon shade. So it gets morning sun, afternoon shade. And I like, wow, and pulled tons and tons of tomatoes out of there. And all of those seeds came from the worm castings. So I didn't actually plant tomatoes there. The worms did. Same thing for the ground cherries. It was the same year the ground cherries came out of there. I bought some ground cherries at Safeway, I think it was, and they were just nasty. So I fed them to the worms and forgot about it. And I had these plants come up, and it's like, oh, they're ground. What the heck is this thing? I had to figure it out, and I'm like, oh, the ground cherry. Okay. And then I'm like, where the heck did that come from? Then I remembered we bought some we didn't like. But when we grew it, it was really good. So I think they're probably just picked super early. Yeah. So yeah, I am going to try some different things this year with tomatoes to make sure I get tomatoes. And yeah, I think part of that might be a little bit more shade. Yeah. Okay. But not all buck rabbits do. Just most. They have to be bred right. Oh, right now it'd become infertile. Okay. Yeah. I just know that when it's too. Oh, my back. Let me look. My back. Somebody tell me. I'm gonna think I'm back. I don't see anything. Okay. Being censored. I'm being censored. All right. Somebody tell me if I'm back. Last thing I see is Verna saying, Jesse, I do either tea or coffee. Anybody hear me? Hopefully you can. Yes, you're okay. Thank you, Ed. All right, I'm gonna go back up. So I don't talk about later. My mouth and voice match up now. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Ed. Andy said, hopefully her computer is plugged all the way in and charging. Oh, it is. I just apparently forgot a whole bunch of things today. That California internet can't let anyone know how to be self-sufficient. Oh boy. Steve wants an alligator. Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that. Verna says, yes, Don, that is what is good about using the leach parts instead of throwing them away. I plant them. The leach parts. I don't know what that means. Oh, I missed that. Dawn says you can take a clone or cutting and get them started much faster than starting with seeds for a second batch. Yeah, so Dawn's talking about tomatoes. So when you have a tomato, and I've done that before, when you have a tomato, all of the little like hairs on the little branches, all of those, if you plant that in the ground, it can become roots. So you can start them in water or you can start them in moist soil, and those actually turn into roots. So good tip, Dawn. Yeah, that is, and I have done that and it does work. Yeah. Let's see. Dawn says I did tests when I moved here, grew 10 different kinds, and my kids and neighbors taste tested, and I chose the ones I grew best here in Central Illinois. One is from Arkansas. Yeah, I have my favorites and that do every year. I mean, Cherokee Purple is my opinion is the best tomato ever. From the ones that I have grown. And I've only ever pulled out one tomato plant, and it was a cherry tomato, and it's called Blueberry, and it was just not good. And I just needed to pull it out and put something else in because it was making too many fruit, and I didn't want it to volunteer. That's why I took it out. And I tried to like it. I tried so hard to like it. Aaron says, Steve, the season opens August 1st. I can pressure can some. I don't know what that would be under. I don't, you might have to contact the National Center for Home Food Preservation. Verna's getting tea. I convinced you, huh? Verna, you spelled coffee wrong, Jesse says. That's funny. Andy says, well, that was my do not disturb that killed my sound. That's because you're on a cell phone. All right. I'm glad we fixed it. Okay. Dawn does clones. She not cologne, clone for tomatoes. But this new tomato, all I got was 5 seeds, so I need to save them and also clone it from there. Yeah. Yeah, that sounds good. Either tea or coffee. Don't have time to make another pot, so iced tea it is. All right. All right. All right. Just how to give you a bad time. We hear you. Ed's clean part of the kitchen floor, and my wife wasn't happy about it. I don't understand. Maybe because you didn't clean the whole thing. Andy says if you wrap a tomato stem with damp paper towel and wrap it with plastic wrap, that can root from that. So you can. That is called air layering, is what that's called. And that's actually used for roses a lot of time. And you can also do that with some trees, like apple trees, I think you can do that with. Basically what it is you cut, for tomatoes, you don't have to cut it. You can just wrap it, or you can even put some soil and then put the wrap around it, and that'll do the same thing. But what you do for air layering for trees is you can cut a little bit into the bark, and that will expose the inner part, the inner cambium, and then you can wrap it with a chunk of soil or even just damp, something damp, and then wrap that in saran wrap or something that the moisture doesn't come out of, and it will start roots. So you can do that on multiple things. It's called air layering, I believe. So yeah, good idea. And that way you can still, that can result in a different kind of health because it's still getting nutrients from the ground while it's growing. So it's not just like sitting in water or sitting in some soil. It's actually using the energy of the existing plant. Yeah, good tip. Good tip. Verna's still waiting for the bad time from Jesse. Andy Rabbit says, most time I just clip a stem and stick it in the dirt to make a clone. Yeah, so that probably depends on your moisture level and humidity, because I think if your moisture level is not high, it's going to wilt faster than it will make roots. So it probably depends on where you're gardening. Moisture level is not high out here. I mean, unless you like actually keep that moist, the ground. Ed says, I use my body as a walker, and I went to sit on pivoted out and from under me, and I sat down on it, and bam, man, hit the floor. I had to crawl out to the couch to haul myself up. Only took 8 minutes. Ed, no falling. No falling. Take a salt bath. That'll fix a lot. Yeah, I'm hoping that you're not doing that again. Andy Rabbit says rabbit poop makes right for the clones. Yeah, so that's something else I tried this last year, or this past summer, is adding rabbit poop to it, and it just didn't make a difference because of the weather that we were having. Yeah. Aaron's asking, Ed, did you hurt yourself? I know that can't be fun. And Ed, I'm sorry, from Andy. Yeah, I'm hoping he's fine because he wrote a long sentence about it. But no more falling. Yeah. We want to see you next year at QuailCon. Verna says, great way to get clones off of fig trees too, the air layering. Yeah. It says, did plan on falling. Back says on Saturday, no one was home. Didn't plan on falling. Okay, well, I'm glad that you're okay. I mean, I think Epsom salt bath will help your back. It helps everything. It really does. Hoping you're okay. Oh, Ed, no wonder why she got upset, Verna says. Yeah. I just flashed again. Everything's plugged in. All right, we'll go for 3 more minutes to 7:15, and then we'll say good evening. We had some good conversations. Hopefully you got the tomato part that apparently I was buffering on. I'm not sure what part I was buffering on, but we always talk tomatoes later. And now is the time to start thinking about that. If you start thinking about it, look at your first frost date. Know your first frost date, and then when you're looking at what you want to grow, go ahead and have that in your mind so you know how far ahead of time you need to start it. You can start it further ahead of time, so you can start them now as long as you have a way to pot them up. If you're going to keep them in little tiny containers, it's not going to be as healthy, but it'll still work. But if you pot them up, then it'll be good. Yeah. It says, don't tell my mom. Yeah. Andy Rabbit says, this summer I had 3 beds of just rabbit poop. I stopped going out to water. It was just too hot. The 3 beds with rabbit poop made it through, and I then got lots of tomatoes after it cooled a bit. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I have we harvested the compost from the Rackin' House, which is rabbits over chicken, and I'm going to be putting that on beds probably soon. I should probably do that so that it gets a little reined in. Yeah, so hopefully that'll be good. Good to know. Everything else died in this heat. Yeah, I understand you. I understand it. Ed says, LOL, lost frost date sounded like prostate. Last frost date. Aaron says, we are starting seeds in the greenhouse this weekend, zone 9B, South Louisiana. Yeah, we're in the same zone. And I've been thinking about it. I have a couple of the ones that Baker Creek said. It's also the ones that happened last year, but I can always start some of them and see what happens. I was also playing around with the idea of maybe having some like inside the screen and porch, but then like everything's inside the screen and porch. So I don't want to overburden that area. Yeah. So yeah, start thinking about what you're planting. If you're not already planting, start thinking about what you're planting and get the seeds and do it. I did get, do I have it? No, it's out on the screen and porch. I did get a Baker Creek seed catalog this week sometime. I think it was this weekend. And spent some time going through there. And you should be receiving your seed catalogs if you're signed up for that. Yeah. There you go. Andy Rabbit says, this sounds good. Sticky upside down cake. Are you researching dessert? Researching dessert is tricky. Yeah, I have my favorites and I always eat too much of it. All right, guys, it has been wonderful talking with you guys. I hope the part that buffered didn't buffer too bad. And that you guys could hear and see me even with my computer unplugged and the light turned off. And thanks for hanging out. Tomorrow's video is going to be pond related. So I know I haven't talked a whole lot about my pond in my videos, but I did something pond related today, and the short time after work in between this. And so yeah, if you're interested in that, watch that tomorrow. All right. Oh, Andy Rabbit's saying apple. An apple upside down cake. That sounds good. Verna says, if you get real winter, now is the time to start adding quail poo to your garden. Now through mid-February. Yes. So now is basically the time when it has enough time to break down and all of that. Yep. Ed says, thanks for the fun time as always. Andy Rabbit, this is my first live with you. It's been fun. You're welcome. Erin says, great chatting. Have a great evening, everyone. Jesse says, good night, everyone. All right. Thanks for watching and have a great night. And we'll see you later. Bye, guys.